Hello, everybody, and welcome to Build and Grow Money Matters Season 3. My name is Madan Mohan Rao, and on behalf of all of us at Your Story, welcome to this chat today with Ashok Shastry, co-founder and COO of DriveU. Before I introduce him, let me give you some context. In this season, we have a series dedicated to helping businesses go beyond financial management to achieve financial growth, resilience, and innovation. As businesses continue to revive and pivot to newer models in these tough times, Your Story is proud to partner with HSBC for another season of inspiring conversations, insights, and observations. We feature some of the newest trendsetters in business and stalwarts of the ecosystem to help businesses power their next phase of growth and business continuity. Let's hear now a little bit about DriveU. For most Indian families, it is more feasible to hire a driver according to their needs, be it for a local or outstation trip, than to employ one full time. DriveU is an on-demand driver services platform catering to that need by providing professional car drivers to make journeys relaxing and hassle-free. Today we have with us Ashok Shastry, one of the founders of DriveU, who also happens to be the COO. DriveU is his brainchild, and he currently oversees marketing, operations, and the dogs at the company. You heard that right. Ashok holds a Bachelor of Science from California State University, East Bay, and prior to DriveU, he also helped scale Taxi for Sure's operations. Welcome aboard, Ashok.
Welcome. Glad to be here with you.
Fantastic. Well, let's get started with your story. You've quite an amazing story. You operate now in 9 cities, I believe. You have 35,000 background verified drivers, 2 million successful drives in 9 cities. Tell us a little bit about the journey from 2015 to today. Ashok?
It's been a quite exciting journey to embark on. When I first moved to India around 8 years ago now, I never expected to be starting a business such as DriveU. It's been extraordinary growth that we've seen here with serving in tens of thousands of lakhs of customers and helping tens of thousands of drivers earn a livelihood. We've grown 2x year on year from the time of inception, aside from this last year. And we've discovered many new verticals and use cases that we would never even thought of when we first launched. It's even more exciting to say that we have a self-sustaining business, something I think a lot of startups strive to achieve.
Those are some great statistics right there, Ashok. Let's get more into some of the technology story behind your success. There's a lot of processes obviously involved in booking a driver. There's booking, there's dispatching, and so on. Apparently, 90% of your booking dispatches are completely automated. So how did you get to that stage? How did you use technology to scale up like this? Ashok?
Yeah, well, actually, it's more than 90% of bookings are automated now. It's not as simple as saying broadcasting and a driver accepting. We have a lot of different parameters like card type and gear type that need to be taken into account. Each driver comes with his own set of skills, and assigning the best driver for a customer is what we have strive to do with attaining a very low cancellation rate, etc., and being on time every time. We've developed systems internally that are very unique to our business type. For example, a lot of people plan in advance for hiring a driver. And we need to make sure that these guys are served, depending on DriveU to provide them somebody to take them outside or around town, to get them home safe from a bar, commute to work. So adhering to very strict SLAs, we've developed a system that allows our drivers to actually assign themselves to bookings upcoming so that we don't miss a single booking. It's taken many iterations of figuring out what is the best method to go by. We take a lot of feedback from our drivers, and data proves what we end up implementing. Yeah, sometimes we do implement something that doesn't work out, so we always go back to the drawing board and figure out what is a next best solution. And this is where we have arrived after 6 years of operations, and over we mentioned 2 million rides completed. It's taken a lot of work from the team. We've got a lot of smart people, engineers on board to make this whole journey successful for everybody in the picture.
Speaking of solutions, one of the features of this industry is the diversity. Users can choose their own car, their specifications, and then drivers are matched based on their experience. So how do you train your drivers to match this whole diversity of cars out there, Ashok?
Yeah, so drivers come with a different skill set, different skill levels. We have some drivers who have been driving for the last 25 years. We have drivers who are fairly new, maybe 3 to 5 years experience. And to ensure that everybody is safe in the entire situation, we actually go through an entire training process before they're onboarded to find out whether or not they are capable of driving specific cars. This could be, a series of questions around, say, automatic cars or a specific type of luxury car. So that way we know that this guy he inherently knows how to drive that car. And if he is starting off at like a manual hatchback level, we get customer feedback. We see how well he's doing in our system, and then we graduate him to different vehicle types as the time goes on. So it's a stepping stone for him to drive better cars and work with a newer set of customers as he goes on this journey with us.
Thanks, Ashok. You told us how this all works. Tell us a little bit about how this all scaled up with funding. You've raised funds from huge names like, Stephen Creek Ventures, former Google executive Amit Singhal, United Seed Fund. So what's your fundraising strategy like? How has it helped you scale up? Ashok?
Our fundraising strategy has always been around what we need. We are pretty frugal when it comes down to spending. We have a very small, close-knit team. We generally try to scale up with technology before, saying, okay, we need to add more operations personnel. So our funding, we have limited to a certain amount, around 5.5 million today, because we actually have, made this business around making money. Each and every one of our rides is profitable, and our next funding requirements, our funding strategy now is for growth. We've proven our scale, we've proven our unit economics and market size. Right now, all it takes is fine-tuning our marketing campaigns and turning them on. So what we're doing in these next couple months is not only scaling across driver services, but also building out new business verticals around the whole car ownership lifecycle. So that is our funding strategy right now. We're going to market with a new product in the next 2 to 3 weeks that we will compete along the lines of many other super apps. So one profitable business unit is there, and the next are coming up.
From scale, Ashok, let's go to another very important issue, which is safety. I'm guessing most of your drivers are males, but many of the clients are females, and apparently 65% of your client base is women. So what strategies do you have to ensure safety of this whole arrangement, Ashok?
We take a lot of safety precautions before the drivers are even onboarded. They have to pass background verifications. We have API integrations with some of the leading background verification companies. If that driver passes with those flying colors, we bring him into the office, and then it's a personality assessment. How does the driver behave, or what are his reactions? How does he, perceive courtesy, and a few other factors. Then our team will make a judgment call whether or not they can go forward with a more in-depth training and then be onboarded. So we, on top of all of that, safety is our main priority. Here, we're driving around in a person's car, generally alone or with their children. So, knock on wood, over 2 million trips completed. There's never been a single incident because of the safety precautions we take in place. Now, to ease other people's, maybe apprehensions or to give people a peace of mind, we actually have a dedicated 24-hour support line. You can either call, you'll get immediate connection within a few seconds, or you can message us on chats. So we strive to instill the professionalism to our drivers as well. We treat our drivers with a tremendous amount of respect over here, and that again I think shows a lot with how they treat our customers.
Those are some very impressive measures you have in place there. Ashok, let's talk about the broader ecosystem now. In the last 6 years, you've acquired a lot of driver aggregator platforms like Call at Home, Zuber, Driver's Cart, and Lookup in several cities in India. How has this worked for you? This tying up with other partners like a B2B arrangement. How has this worked for you, Ashok?
Yeah, so we made these acquisitions early on in DriveU's story. We're entering new markets, and there's other players within those markets already that had a decent customer base, whether it was for B2C or on the B2B side for businesses. They also came along with a great source of drivers who have already been trained and vetted onto these different systems that we're easily able to transition over to our side, our driver service. So these acquisitions early on helped us scale up in initial days in those cities. We were going in there with a new brand name, DriveU. So we thought it would be best that way to acquire another company in that market and then launch.
Thanks, Ashok. Let's talk a little bit more about the channel, your channel approach. Many companies use a website, their own app, etc. But a few months back, you launched a first of its kind, fully automated way to book a private driver through WhatsApp. So this is enabled through an AI-powered chatbot. Tell us a little bit more about this launch and this channel and how it's working for you, Ashok.
Yeah. As things become simpler with WhatsApp allowing API integrations and verified business accounts, we thought it was a great opportunity to extend a new channel of booking to our customers. It's very easy to interact with WhatsApp. Everybody has it on their phones, and we integrated with another company that was able to pull this off for us and provide a very easy structure for our customers to make bookings. Sometimes if you're out with friends, maybe at a bar, you don't want to download an app, but you can easily chat on WhatsApp. It's natural. So we wanted to provide easy access to everybody, whether it's a first-time user or somebody who's just not familiar with apps. A lot of our customers maybe can put their parents onto using WhatsApp instead of having them book for us. So that's a big use case that we're seeing come up with this. We're really looking forward to it expanding further as the second wave comes to an end, and we expect this to be a very large portion of our bookings in the near future.
Those are some great insights, Ashok, on how to go to where your customer is. I'm sure our audience will appreciate these kinds of insights. Let's take a little bit of a look at some of the other players in this ecosystem. When people think of sharing and cars, sharing economy, all that stuff, they think about companies like Ola and Uber as well. But you are doing something different. You're helping car owners keep using their vehicles rather than using somebody else's cabs. So do you think you are a rival to these other services like Ola and Uber, Ashok?
In some sense, you can say we are a rival. So for anybody who has a car and also uses an Ola and Uber app, we would be a rival to them. For those who don't have a car, we wouldn't be a rival to them yet until they buy their first car. But what really sets us apart is these users who have their own car, they have their creature comforts. Maybe your Bluetooth is already connected. You have your to-go bag in the back of your car, change the clothes, etc. So people who are looking for the comfort of getting around in the city, DriveU would be the main choice. Now, considering that the sharing aspect of anything has kind of come to a standstill since the pandemic has began. So having that assurity that you're the only person in that car who's touched it, maybe who's breathed basically in the car, it brings a lot of peace of mind. Our drivers, we're working on right now to become fully vaccinated. We're doing drives across every city to bring that entire ecosystem into a vaccinated ecosystem, to bring a surety to our customers that you're safe with us. And again, safety is our priority. By July 15th, all of our drivers will be vaccinated. Anybody you take would have at least gotten the first jab to give you that peace of mind.
That's so reassuring to hear now, Ashok. You've talked a lot about the business landscape. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening inside your company. Now, you as a company have to keep upping the game and keep innovating. So we hear that you have the Kaizen approach to build innovation into every stage of the process. Tell us a bit more about your culture and how you use these kinds of techniques, Ashok.
Yeah, so everything can always be improved, we feel. Even if it's working at 95%, why can't it go to 97%? So we go back to the drawing board, figure out where some lapses are, so figure out how we can fine tune things. We're continuously improving everything we do, from developing new technologies, processes, tweaking different algorithms, and even team building activities. How can we better engage with our team inside? So it comes down from basic, just continuous improvement throughout the entire business, not just core processes, but internally as well.
Thanks, Ashok. Let's take a look now at some of the other trends in this space. When people think of drivers and cars and technology, people think about driverless cars also. Do you think this makes sense in a country like India? Driverless cars? What's your take on it, Ashok?
That's a great question. We've been posed this question a few times by potential investors. And we definitely feel that driverless cars are maybe a few decades off, especially on Indian roads. A lot of the times in other countries, driverless cars aren't, they're still subjected to a lot of regulation. They have a long way to go in terms of being as accurate. We see with Tesla, I know they're approved for highway use, but that doesn't take into account a lot of the moving pieces in India. Driving through commercial street is not an easy thing to do. It's a funny thought. I always think that if a driverless car has to hit a road here in India, it's going to stall. Eventually, the motherboard's going to burn out because there's so much information to be processed around. In the States or any Western country, you have a lot of roads with lines painted across anywhere you go. Here, we're kind of lucky to see some divides in the roads. So I think it's a little far off in India, and until then, DriveU is there to drive you around.
Thanks, Ashok. A while ago, you talked about the pandemic and vaccination for your drivers. Let's talk a bit more about what the pandemic has meant for you as a leader, as a person. What have been some of the key leadership lessons as you've taken away from the pandemic? What does it take to lead a company through a crisis when there's so much uncertainty, so much unpredictability, second wave, third wave? Who knows what's going to happen next? What have you
Yeah.
learned from this whole crisis, Ashok?
There's definitely a few things that stand out on what I've learned and what we have learned as a business. Firstly, be decisive and quick to take corrective actions. We have to always be open-minded to new business opportunities. We had the first wave completely, bring us down to zero in the month of April of last year. And we have this massive workforce, the 35,000, 40,000 drivers that were depending on us for the livelihood. So we decided to tie up with all the big names who are delivering essentials to provide them employment and for our team to move towards that direction. We've always been very compassionate and understanding to all of our stakeholders, no matter if they're a driver driving for us for the first time or somebody who's been with us from the company beginning. Another thing is to really look externally. Initial days of when we saw this pandemic breakout, everybody's trying to hypothesize: is this going to come to India? Maybe India is too hot of a climate? Maybe we're just generally immune because there's so many different bacteria or whatever. But that is just unreasonable thinking, right? If it's happening somewhere, you can't say if it's happening there, it won't happen here. So we took that to heart, and now we're a lot more global as an economy. We got to think globally too. So thinking globally, being decisive, being open-minded to new business opportunities, and being compassionate are the key leadership takeaways that I've garnered for sure.
Compassionate leadership, that's certainly the need of the hour, Ashok. Let's talk a bit now about the future. What are some of your plans, 2, 5, 10 years down the road? I know it's very hard to plan in these uncertain times, but where do you see your company in the next, I guess, 2 to 5 years, Ashok?
Well, we want to be the only app a car owner ever needs. We will be aggregating different services, everything from car maintenance to car spas, to renewing insurance, recharging your FastTech. We've built a massive base of customers over the last 6 years that trust us in what we do. They trust our drivers to drive themselves, their second highest prized asset, as well as their families around. So we're adding on to these additional services, creating a reward-led ecosystem. And I believe that's where the name of the game is right now with the super apps. We have a lot of partners we work with across the board, from you can say, pit stop for pick and drops, or a cars report to sell your car, just in general to help out their operations. A large part of our business is B2B, so we anticipate further dominating this market. Prior to the pandemic, we weren't too focused on our B2B business. People would come, hey, can you provide pick and drop service for us, or can you provide test drives for our customers? Anything to do with car movement, we are there across B2B support. So we built out our first business development team in the last year and a half to take this opportunity up. We've signed pan-India contracts with some of the leading brands of car of OEMs. And a few other very large companies. And we plan to go deeper into the consumer space by offering different services in the next couple of years, as well as go deeper into the B2B space with new clients, ranging from the Marutis or Hyundais all the way down to your local service station who would want to reduce their manpowers that they're dependent on and put a more variable system in place that DriveU provides.
Thanks, Ashok. Those sound like very promising prospects for the future. Now, coming to the last two questions, I'd like to focus a bit more on the topic of money. This show is called Money Matters after all. So, I'd like to ask you, what is your relationship with money as a person, your professional approach, maybe even philosophical? What's your attitude towards money? What does it mean for you? How do you want it to grow for you? Ashok?
Um, I guess I've always been pretty mindful, if not frugal. Try to make the best possible decisions where to place my money or the company's money as when it brings the most benefit. We've been cautious on our spends. We have not raised a crazy amount of funding. So every single rupee needs to count for us. We make sure that if we're running a campaign that the CAC doesn't exceed XYZ, or else it just doesn't make sense for us. We do a lot of more, digital marketing where we can measure ROIs on an instance. If a campaign stops working out for us, we'll pause it, restart, reconfigure it, and see how it runs again. We're not a charity, so we have to make our money work for us. And I mentioned this already, but we have a very solid unit economics across the board. And that's been a core focus of us. So that way we can go to market. We don't have to spend any extra money on making each ride happen. So that's how my relationship with money is: make it work for you best possible way, and where you don't lose money at any chance.
Thanks, Ashok. Let's talk now about the people who we've been working with in the finance and banking sector. You've worked with the investors, you've worked with banks, I guess. So what's it like to work with them, and what can they do in future to make it even better to work with people like you? Any suggestions, tips, experiences, stories you want to share, Ashok?
Sure. I like most exciting startups that are getting funded these days. They're asset light. While equity investors and banks like this, the lending institutions seem to have a challenge with it. Startups often need a lot of working capital to grow their business, but unfortunately, banks we see are used to loaning only to physical financial assets based companies for collateral. Most startups we don't have that luxury. While invoicing financing is a good mechanism, banks have a myopic view of collateralizing it. The processes are a bit cumbersome and often difficult to navigate for startups to navigate. Banks should try to be a little more streamlined when it comes to loaning any finance or financing anything for startups.
Thanks, Ashok. Those are some very good insights for our audience, both the startups and the investors and the bankers in the audience. Some key three takeaways for me from this conversation have been, I would guess, the three C's: convenience, customer, compassion. Look for convenience for your market. For example, go to WhatsApp if that's what they are. If they need parental comfort, go to them for the comfort level. Second is customer. Focus on trust issues and safety issues for your customer, especially at times of uncertainty. And last but not least, compassion. Speak with compassion to your employees and to your whole ecosystem players. Ashok, thank you so much. We wish you all the best. Thanks for joining us today.